Tvam atmanatmanam abhevyamoghatrik Tvam atmanatmanam abhevyamoghatrik Parasya pungsa paramatmana kalam Parasya pungsa paramatmana kalam Ajam pajatam gataha shivayatan Ajam prajatam jagata shivayatan Mahanubhavabhyutayo tijantayam Mahanubhavabhyutayo tiganyatam Tamatmanatmanam vibhiyamoghatrik Parasya pungsa paramatmana kalam Ajam pajatam jagadha shivayatan Manhu bhavayudayo diganyanyatam Tamatmanatmanam avihimogratrik Parasya pungsa paramatmana kalam Ajam pajatam jagadha shivayatan Mahanubhavabhyutayo diganyatam Manatmanam avahe amoghatrik Maharaji. Maharaji. Tvam, yourself, Atmana, by your own self, Atmanam, the super soul, Avahi, search out, Amoga Drik, one who has perfect vision, Parasya, of the transcendence, Pungsaha, the personality of Godhead, Paramatmanaha, the Supreme Lord, Kalam, plenary part, Ajam, birthless, Prajatam, having taken birth, Jagata, of the world, Shivaya, for the well-being, Tat, that, Maha-Anubhava, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Abhyudaya, pastimes, Abhiganya, Abhiganyatam, describe most vividly. Translation, your goodness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the super soul, personality of Godhead, because you are present as a plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please, therefore, describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, more vividly. Please repeat. Your goodness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because you are present as a plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please, therefore, describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, more vividly. Purport by Sri Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Vyasadeva is the empowered plenary portion, incarnation of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. He descended by his causeless mercy to deliver the fallen souls in the material world. The fallen and forgotten souls are detached from the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord, and they are eternally servitors of the Lord. All the Vedic literatures, therefore, are put into systematic order for the benefit of the fallen souls. And it is a duty of the fallen souls to take advantage of such literatures and be freed from the bondage of material existence. Although formally Srila Narada is his spiritual master, Srila Vyasadeva is not at all dependent on his spiritual master, because in essence he is the spiritual master of everyone else. But because he is doing the work of an acharya, he has taught us by his own conduct that one must have a spiritual master, even though he be God himself. Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Sri Ram, and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all incarnations of Godhead, accepted formal spiritual masters, although by their transcendental nature they were cognizant of all knowledge. In order to direct people in general to the lotus feet of the Lord, Sri Krishna, he himself, in the incarnation of Vyasadeva, is delineating the transcendental position of the Lord. End of purport. Om Gyanantarandasya Gyanansalakaya Chakshumitam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Paristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Ne Vishesha Shandavari Pasarasatarini Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation again. Your goodness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the super soul, personality of Godhead, because you are present as the plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please, therefore, describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, more vividly. This is Narada Muni speaking to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva posed a question when Narada Muni came. Narada Muni is his guru, formal spiritual master, and so he's putting the question to him. The duty of the disciple is to question the spiritual master. Why there are no questions? I heard Prabhupada say that. Why there are no questions? So he was feeling despondent, having compiled all the Vedic literatures. Nothing was unknown to him. And he said, I've done that. I know everything. He's not puffed up. He knows everything. Vyasadeva is incarnation. I know everything. And I'm following everything. I've written the Vedas, I've compiled, I've written down. I've assimilated them. I've understood them. I'm following them. But still, something lacking. Something is. I'm still not completely satisfied for some reason. Please tell me what it is. And this is it. This is the. Now Narada's talking to him for some time, but now he's pointing the finger. What the fault is. Or what the solution is, actually. He's already pointed out the different faults, what he hasn't done. Now what should he do? Please, therefore, describe the transcendental pastimes of Krishna more vividly. It means you've only touched on the pastimes of Krishna. Now you describe them more vividly. So that this is the Leela of the great devotees. They're both practically incarnations of the Lord. Narada is also addressed as Bhagavan because of his immense qualities and powers that he has. And although Srila Prabhupada says he doesn't actually need a guru, this is Vyasadeva, doesn't need a guru. Vyasadeva is an incarnation of the Lord. So he doesn't actually need a guru, but he takes a guru. That is the protocol. As Prabhupada mentions here, even when the Lord appears as Krishna, as himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Krishna and as Mahaprabhu in a covered form, and as Rama, they're all accepted guru. They will accept it as spiritual master. So that's the protocol. So one has to accept the spiritual master as a matter of etiquette, as a matter of protocol. That's a rule. Krishna's rule. This is a system. You want to know me, you approach a spiritual master. You serve him and inquire submissively from him. And he will tell you. He will tell you how to approach me. So Krishna's Kripa Shakti, that's given charge of his devotees. Krishna doesn't give directly, unless he's here on the planet. He doesn't give that directly. So it comes through his devotees. So that's the actual protocol. And if you don't follow the protocol, then why would Krishna reciprocate with you? If we think we don't need a guru, that means there's no one qualified to be a guru. If you have that mentality, which is not very healthy, then the examples are here. Even the Lord himself, and his different, even directly himself and his incarnations, they're accepting the spiritual master formally. Otherwise, if you don't follow, why would Krishna give the result? It's simple. Here's a formula. We don't know what's going on. We don't know who we are, what this material world is. Only what we've heard. We don't have a clue what's going on, how it works. Only what we've read about it, but we don't actually know how it works. Mystical. So then the Lord enters into the material sphere and empowers his devotees also to give the instruction how to deal with the material energy, how to utilize the material energy, because that's all we have, that's all we can perceive. Earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, identity. What else do we have? You can break it down further into 24 elements, but these are all perceivable things, and that's all we can actually work with. So how to engage this material energy, how to utilize the material energy so that it doesn't have an adverse effect, so it doesn't bring us back again into the material world. So those activities that constitute spiritual life, akarma, without any resultant material reaction for our activities. Although we're using the same faculties, right? When we're karmis or when we're devotees, we're using the same faculties. It's the same place. Nothing's different. It's just that now the consciousness changes, or the reason changes why we are performing these activities, and that marks the difference between spiritual and material. One's consciousness. Because in essence, everything is spiritual. Everything coming from the Lord, everything in essence is spiritual. So if you can see that, it's the Lord himself in diverse forms, acting in different ways, if you can perceive that, this is the platform of self-realization, Brahma Buddha, then you can actually perceive there's nothing but the Lord. Right? So there's no such thing as separation from the Lord. How can there be separation? Everything is him. Directly or indirectly, him or his, which is the same thing. It's his energy, it's him. It's coming from him. So it's also Krishna, but it's acting, the energy acts in different ways according to his desire. So the material energy, it's a fact. It's one of the main energies. It's generally we hear of three energies, predominant, thousands of different energies. Predominantly the internal energy, or the spiritual energy, the external energy, material energy, or the in between, the marginal energy, tatastha shakti. That's us. The jiva comes from there. It's classified as tatastha. Superior energy, but prone to be covered by the material energy. That's the position of the Tatastha Jiva. So how to correct the situation of being in the material world? Because everything we do has a reaction. If there's a reaction, then we have to take another birth to get that reaction. So it seems very puzzling. How do you break this cycle of samsara? How do you get out? So we'll need. This knowledge comes from outside. It's not available in your science books, and it's not available by your intellect. You're not going to come to this. You're not going to come to the conclusion of what is actually going on. Not possible. Nobody has. There's only 6 philosophers actually, and everything is coming from those 6 philosophers. And some of those are atheistic also, but they're the standard means of understanding or utilizing. So Narada's saying, you're right, you do know everything, and you've compiled it down. All this information is there, but what is the point of it all? So as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, he summarizes everything. I mean, as far as we're concerned, the fallen and forgotten souls are detached from the transcendental loving service of the Lord. I mean, the living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord, and they are eternal servitors of the Lord. So this is the secret. Who is saying that? Who in amongst the philosophers, religionists, and that the living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord, and eternal. The relationship is eternal service. Who is saying that? Practically speaking. And now we have forgotten, therefore we're considered fallen. We're detached, we're not attached to that service of the Lord. So then the secret would be to become attached to that service of the Lord, but one first has to accept that he is a part and parcel of the Lord, an eternal servant of the Lord. He's nothing else. He's a servant of the Lord. But when we forget that, then, hey, who wants to be a servant? So then we'll try to be master. So that's our undoing. Well, the more we try to be master, the more we become actually servant of the senses. The more we become controlled by the material nature. The harder we try to become master, to control the material nature, the more we become implicated in the material nature. That's how it works. You will try to resolve one problem, the solution is worse than the actual original problem. You create 10 more problems. It comes from that. That's just how the material energy works. Very complex. Krishna is very clever. So you want to try to be a controller, take his position, okay. It's not possible, but if you really want to try, if you really believe you can do it, then here, you can. So he puts you in such a place, in a playground, in a playpen, and gives you all the faculties, 24 elements. Okay, go ahead. And when you get tired of banging your head against a wall, one day you're going to say, God help me, if you're serious. God help me. Oh, okay. What do you want? Then he'll send Guru. So this is what the Vedic literature is for. Systematic, in systematic order for the benefit of the fallen souls. And it is a duty of the fallen souls to take advantage of the Vedic literature and be free from material existence. So that's the other half of the purport. So that's the sum and substance of the, and now of spiritual life, self-realization. And this is this is the Leela that leads to the Bhagavatam being narrated. The scene is set, right? The Parikshit was cursed by the boy. Narada's feeling despondent. Then, Vyasadeva is feeling despondent. Narada comes and tells him, you've written everything, but you've got to stress the really important thing. You haven't done that. So you described the transcendental pastimes of Krishna more vividly, because that's the only real savior. Because in essence, as Prabhupada mentions, that's what we are. We're the eternal servants of Krishna. So servant means assistant, and assistant means there's activity, and activity means there's a pastime. So we're to assist in the pastimes of the Lord as servant, either a lover's servant or a friend's servant or a parent's servant or a friend's servant or a servant's servant. In one of those particular rasas, that's the actual reality. So that being the reality, that is also the cure for the panacea. To expose yourself to the reality is actually a cure for the material disease. Whereas these other processes, indirect processes like karma, gyan, yoga, they're, especially the karma, the gyan and the yoga, they're more denial. You're denying, you're emptying yourself, you're becoming free from everything. You're going to, right, you get back to find the stillness, as they say, right? Find that space, that quiet, that stillness, that what they're looking for, the Mayapur. Get into that empty space where you're feeling so peaceful, right? The realization. So, but bhakti is different. It's filling yourself with the pastimes, activities, name, qualities, etc. of Krishna. Example is if you have a glass of ink and you pour milk in and keep pouring and keep pouring and keep pouring, eventually that ink will all be finished and it'll be pure milk. So this is the path of bhakti, shravanam, kirtanam especially. You're just filling yourself up with that, then all the other stuff will automatically go. There's no need to endeavor to empty it. And of course we have our rules to follow, the rules which, the rules, just like we have, 4 regulative principles. So they stop the ink coming back in again. Because you have to, it says you have the process or the seed, but you have to water it. And along with that water, the weeds may grow up again. So you have to be careful, have to act in such a way that you don't put the ink back in again. You don't put the unwanted things back in again simultaneously. So that's the culture, that's a lifestyle, mode of goodness. The mode of passion and the mode of ignorance are not so suitable for spiritual life or self-realization. That's why it's always recommended. It's a good lifestyle it's a good, healthy lifestyle, a good lifestyle, and it won't. Of course, it's material, but it won't hinder your spiritual practice like the other more aggressive lifestyles in the mode of passion and ignorance. Although it's not a bar, you can surrender to Krishna at any time, but it'll just be easier from the mode of goodness than the mode of passion and ignorance. Therefore, it's recommended. Pancharatna Prabhu finished the class yesterday about this. There's a question asked. He said maybe we can speak about it. The speaker tomorrow can speak about it. So I thought, well, okay, I'm speaking tomorrow. The question was about the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. I believe the question was, do those realizations come subsequently? I mean, that's a process. You go through these processes. First you become Brahman realized, then you get Paramatma realization, then it's Bhagavan realization. And possibly, if that's the case, then should we meditate on the Brahman now, and then later on we should meditate on the Paramatma? I think that was the question. Because Krishna says also surrender to the Paramatma. I did a search for the self-realization, and on the database 18,000 hits came out, so I thought I won't go there. Then Brahman realization, there was 800, 900 like that. But it's more or less the same thing. Brahman realization, self-realization, Prabhupada equates as the same. He says self-realization or Brahman realization. It's more or less the same. It's the same thing, more or less. Because when you realize yourself, you're realizing Satchit Ananda, but 1/10,000th part, the tip of the hair of Satchit, because that's your actual size. That's your actual size. Whereas according to the Mayavadis, when you realize Brahman, then you become one with the unlimited. Of course, that's not our philosophy, and we don't even really accept that, because you're always individual. But the Krishna in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says 62. There's one. Krishna saying, "O sign of Bharat," Krishna told to Arjuna, "surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme eternal abode." He's talking about the Super Soul. Because the sloka before, the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. So you surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you'll get transcendental peace and the eternal abode, perfection there. So he's talking about the Super. I can remember asking this question when I was a bhakta. Krishna's saying that the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. And when you should surrender unto him utterly. So Krishna's talking like in the third case, Krishna's telling Arjuna, you should surrender unto him. But I thought Krishna was saying surrender unto me. So I asked the question, what's going on? Is it two gods, or what? Krishna is saying surrender unto him. So that's not Krishna. He's a Super Soul. But of course, it was explained later, or understood it later, that He's talking about his feature as a super soul. Then, so in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Savasya Hiri Shanivistaha. The Lord is seated in everyone's heart. So this recommendation that one should surrender unto the super soul sitting within means that one should surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. As that's has already been accepted by Arjuna. He was accepted in the 10th chapter as Param Brahma Param Dham. So we're not going to meditate on the Brahman. That's never recommended for the devotees. And we're not going to meditate on the super soul. We're going to meditate on Krishna. He's our Istadeva. Why we should meditate on this, and how the process, the religious process for this age is Dham Sankirtan. So you engage in Kirtan, Shravanam Kirtanam, engage in the 9 devotional processes. This is the recommended process for this age. So you'll achieve Brahman realization, you'll achieve Paramatma realization much quicker by performing this Sankirtan Yagya than any other process. So obviously, it's not. Our process is not going to change. We're not going to do something different. So it's included in the actual process of bhakti, the process of devotional activities. And the Vishwanath Chakravarti says also on this one, that same sloka. He says, this verse explains the purpose of knowledge just revealed. Just take shelter of the Lord, you will attain the cessation of vidya and avidya. Then you will attain my eternal place, Vaikuntha. This surrender to the antarami, the super soul, is for worshippers of the antarami. That means the yogis. They meditate on the antarami, on the super soul. Whereas the worshippers of Bhagavan surrender unto Bhagavan, which will be explained later. This is the opinion of some concerning this verse. Then he gives another devotee may think, Sri Krishna alone is my deity. He alone is my guru. He alone gives me instructions which are beneficial for my bhakti. Therefore, I surrender unto him. Krishna alone is my inner guide, taking the place of Paramatma. I surrender unto him so that he will engage me in actions of bhakti. In other words, he's seeing Krishna in everything. So that means this is advanced devotion. When you're on that platform, is actually seeing everything as Krishna, seeing Krishna as the super soul. He's as a guru. That means he's seeing Krishna's hand in everything. He's seeing Krishna through his guru, he's seeing Krishna through the instructions, he's seeing Krishna through the super soul. He sees it's the Deva Krishna, that's Shamsundar Krishna. Others have, like, I think it was Gaurkishore Babaji has, or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has had a similar vision, or spoke of a similar vision, where you see Guru in everything, which is also compatible. Guru is everything. Guru is a guide, Guru is an instructor, Guru is Krishna. Is not Mayavad, but it's Krishna is manifest through the Guru. The knowledge is manifest through the Guru. So, and everyone else he sees as a manifestation of Guru's mercy. He said, he used to call his disciples, Prabhu, you have been sent by my Guru. He's taken the position of Guru, right? So his Guru, he sees his Guru sent these souls so I can give them the enlightenment that you gave me. So he's seeing the Guru in everything like that, and seeing it's non different from Krishna, Sakshat Hari, that he is doing the work of Krishna. He's not different from Krishna. So there are different ways, but it's not separate from your Istadeva. So we don't want to worship on the thing then. Although, and it was mentioned that we have the elevator to the top that we take to the path of bhakti. That's it's like taking the elevator. You don't have to walk up the stairs, but you pass through those. You pass through those things. But although it is a direct process, the realization is not direct. The realization is not immediate. In the Brahma Samhita, he's talking about this. You have to work. It's that Lord Chaitanya is giving freely. Mahavadana Krishna Prema, but he's giving freely Krishna Prema. But who gets it? Who manifests it? Who feels it? That's what he's come to give. Because it's something you can't teach. So he's coming to give. He's teaching Gyan Vairagya, but he's giving that. But who's actually getting? So it's the endeavor, the mercy and the endeavor of the living entity. So in the Brahma Samhita, this is text 59, the highest devotion is attained by slow degrees, by method of constant endeavor for self-realization, with the help of scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance in practice. So Bhaktisiddhanta has given the purport on this. Scriptural evidence, he's saying scriptures, Srimad, Bhagavatam, Vedas, Puranas, Gita. This is our scriptural Bhakti Shastras. These are scriptural evidence. Then theistic conduct, it means the conduct of pious persons, sadhus, who are pure devotees, and the conduct of those pious persons who practice devotion to Godhead, actuated by spontaneous love. It means the conduct should be like those. You should associate with those devotees. It's the same principles we follow, right? Associate with the advanced devotees. That's the conduct, and the perseverance in practice. He says practice is to learn about the 10 basic principles, Dasamula, from the Shastras, and on receiving the name of Hari, as laid down in the same, embodying the name, form, quality, activity of the divinity, to practice chanting the name by serving him day and night. So that's part of it. That's a big part of it. Of the practice is because the most effective practice is Nam Sankirtan in this particular time, and chanting and serving him day and night. So we get the Lord. We get the Lord in his name. We get at the time of initiation when the spiritual master gives you the Lord in the form of his holy name, in Krishna mantras. And then you engage in his service. That's technical liberation. Or Prabhupada says imperceptible liberation, because we don't, you don't actually experience your liberation at that time very rapidly. That takes the realization of feeling that the name is Krishna. That'll take some time. So you need to practice. You need perseverance, because it's not going to happen so easy because of so many coverings we have and been here in the material world for so long. It's not an easy thing, as we know. We're all practicing. We all want to chant purely, but it's not an easy thing. I mean, it's only 3 words, Hare Krishna Rama, but it's not so easy just to be absorbed in those 3 names without anything else going on. That's our experience. We don't have the proper adhikar to experience that. But the fact is, the activity is liberating. It is liberation. It's technical liberation or imperceptible liberation, because there's no material reaction for that. There's no karmic reaction for chanting Hare Krishna and doing service. But the chanting purely is not just about sitting and hearing that name and nothing else. It's about your whole lifestyle. It's about, what time you get up in the morning and how you conduct your activities, and all those things are all helpful for the devotees. So it's not just the name itself. It's a lifestyle that goes with it. So if you don't follow the lifestyle and it's just dependent on the name. It's just Hare Krishna. The name of Krishna is Krishna. That's the philosophy. I believe it, and I'm just going to get absorbed in that name. But no, it's a lifestyle which will give you the adhikar to actually perceive the name. The Lord will reveal himself when he's pleased with our endeavor. And that endeavor here is mentioned by these different, by conduct, theistic conduct, perseverance, studying scripture, following scripture, perseverance in study. He says practice in pious conduct. Practice is no other than following the mode of service of the name practiced by the sadhus without offense. So you're following the mode of service practiced by the great souls. What the sadhu, pure devotees do, that's the standard of religious practice. What they do in Vrindavan, Golok, that is even in Bhumi Vrindavan, the which is with Krishna, that's the standard of religion. That's the highest form of religion, religious practice, what they do, because they have the proper mood to, everything is for actually Krishna's pleasure. So do that without offense. By perseverance in such practice and devotion characterized by love, which is the fruit of spiritual endeavor, makes her appearance in the pure essence of the soul. So we don't stop our whatever you want, akama, savakama, moksha kama udari, whatever you want. Material desires or no material desires, you want liberation, whatever you worship Vishnu. So that's the recommendation. So here we have this, we follow the same principles. We have our religious activities, 9 processes of devotional service. They're the best. You can break it down again into 64, but this is the best, 9. Then there's 5. Living in the holy Dham, Mayapur ki jai. Chanting Hare Krishna, associating with devotees, hear Bhagavatam, worshiping the deities. Like that. They're very potent. So we don't have to do anything else. Then that the realization will come. The Brahman realization will come as you'll perceive Brahman sometimes, right? Ecstasy means bhav, right? When you feel some ecstasy, which happens to anyone, even the new bhaktas get some sometimes. That's a special mercy. But that would be Brahman. That would be experience of Brahman. even on the neophyte stage, and even during an anartha nivritti, like sometimes you feel ecstasy, even new bhakta. So that's give you encouragement. But that is what you're feeling is actually Brahman. You're experiencing the spiritual atmosphere, but it's not consistent. It's just short things. But when one is advanced one gets through the anartha nivritti, which is stopping that experience, blocking our a relationship with Krishna, with diverting our attention. So when you're through that stage, then you'll perceive that much more. That's this platform of nishta. You're peaceful. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, when the mind is controlled, the super soul is already reached. So you'll be experiencing that Brahman in a more consistent way. That's the experience of Brahman, the experience in the Sat portion of the Lord. Eternality. So when you experience eternality, it's just peaceful. Fantastic. No fear. You're experiencing eternality. There's no death, no beginning, just. Then the super soul feature would be the Sat and Chit features you experience through the Sat and Chit. But then there'd be the person, but a very, very minimal relationship. So you're not going to experience much ananda there. Although you're satisfied, you're completely satisfied and happy. Because you're directly seeing the Lord. So you're experiencing the Sat, your satisfaction, you're experiencing the Chit, that is your knowledge, your understanding, your cognizance of course there's always there anyway, cognizance of Sat, but then you're cognizant of the Lord Himself, but there's no actual seva, just like a manasa seva. You're appreciating the Lord, and He's appreciating you. But it's limited. That the faculty of ananda is limited there. So that's manifested in the stage of Bhagavan. Then you get the Satchit Ananda complete there. So whether you're going to experience Brahman as a part of the process, but whether you actually perceive the super soul, I don't know. You're not going to consciously meditate on the super soul. Our program is to meditate on our Istadeva, our predominating deity, Krishna, and Mahaprabhu, or whoever. So then, as Vishwanath says, that there is my Istadeva. My Istadeva is the super soul, because we know anyway Krishna is the super soul. But we won't meditate on that four-arm form. We meditate on the two-arm form. So whether it's necessary for that form to manifest, it's not really necessary for that form to manifest. It may be a distraction. Actually, when Gop Kumar, when he was traveling out, trying to find the essence, trying to find the absolute truth, trying to find Krishna. At the end of before the end, he was in, I think it was in Dwarka, and he was speaking to Narada and Uddhava. So they said, even here, he's not satisfied. Gopkumar wasn't satisfied even in Dwarka with Krishna, because his Istadeva was Gopal Krishna. Although he was ignorant, he didn't even know who Gopal was God. He just, so he was very naive. That's storyline. So they said, what you want, we can't give you. Neither Narada nor Uddhava had that, Braj above. They know about it, but they didn't have it, because they worship, Narada worships Lord Narayan, it's his sister Deva, and Uddhava worshipped Dwarkadish. He's the godly king there also. So they suggested going to Jagannath Puri. And he said, no, actually, you have to go down to earth. Bhumi, Braja Bhumi, there you can get Brajabhav. You can't get it here in Dwarka. Then it got so far, right? You had to come back. So he said, okay, I'll go and say goodbye to Krishna on hand in Dwarka. They said, no, don't do that. He'll understand. It's not necessary. You immediately go. They said, if you go there, you'll be so satisfied you won't want to leave. Because that was his experience. Whenever he saw the Lord and the different features of the Lord, he was completely satisfied. Because that's the nature of the Supreme Lord. So he's completely satisfied and he forgot about everything else. Only when he left the Lord, then his bhav for Gopal came up again. But while he's in front of the Lord, different forms of the Lord, that didn't come up. Because you're seeing the Lord, you're perfectly satisfaction. There's nothing to lament, nothing to lose, right? You're seeing the Lord face to face. So then so he forgot everything else. But only when he goes away from the Lord, then it comes up again that he wants to see that he's Gopal. So they said, don't go. Not necessary. He'll understand. You just go direct. So it could possibly be a distraction if we saw the super soul for the Krishna bhaktas, right? Because if you meditate in that super soul, fantastic. Right? You're seeing the Lord. I mean, just to be in the Brahman's fantastic. Then you're seeing the Lord face to face. Why would you want to go? What more would you want? You're perfectly satisfied. You're perfectly, of course. I don't know what it's like because you're a whole different consciousness, a whole different set of rules on that platform. But from our platform, we want two things, right? We want relief and we want happiness. So that you'll get that in full when you're seeing the form of the Lord. You'll get that to some degree in Brahman. You get it even more when you see the Super Soul. So why would you want to go from that space? Your desires are all completely fulfilled there. So it may be a hindrance here, but I don't know how necessary it is, but it possibly, it's another speculation, you'll perceive the instructions that the Lord has given us. From me come knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness. He's doing it now, but we don't perceive him. But possibly at that stage, then you'd actually perceive the instructions are actually coming from the Lord himself. When you're on the higher stage, on the stage of bhava, then it will be the Lord directly. He'd take over. Our Istadeva will take over from the Super Soul. The Super Soul, as Paramatma, he's done his job. He's not needed anymore. So then the Istadeva takes over directly from the Paramatma. So whether we'll see the Paramatma or not, I don't know. We don't hear about it. We don't. Only those that are practicing the yoga system, like Dhruva, etc. Otherwise, we don't hear about it with the bhaktas that they actually see the Super Soul. But someone else may know the answer. If anyone can enlighten us. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Prabhu ki jai, Narada Muni ki jai, Vyasadeva ki jai, Thayago Premanandi. You're going to enlighten us on this. Is it the same topic? Okay. The mic will come. At the back.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Very nice class. So it does make sense that in this material world, Paramatma exists in this material world. The Lord is with every living entity residing within their heart. So that when you leave this material world, you will no longer need or see Paramatma. Is that right?
When you leave,
Yeah.
yes. No need Paramatma.
When you leave this world, you will no longer experience Brahman, because Brahman is the material nature.
Oh, Brahman means absence of the material world. It means the spiritual world. So you'll experience Brahman. That's the ambience. Even in Golok, Brahman is the ambience. Everything is made of Brahman, but it's Brahman in form.
So when it's described as these three aspects of God, Krishna, that Brahman, most people would understand that Brahman is the material nature, and therefore it is not. But Brahman is spiritual. There's no question about that it's spiritual. But when we're looking as a so-called uncivilized human being, looking at the sun or experiencing the sun every day, would say that the sun is God. That is what I worship. There are many pagans who worship the sun. So that's an aspect of Brahman, the sun, part of nature. Therefore, they're on the path to understanding. They have a God realization, even though they're called pagans and whatever, They may be atheists even, they may be Mayavadis, but they still worship the sun, they still acknowledge Brahman. So they're on a level of Godhead, of realization of Godhead. Would that be true? Now, thinking of Madhya Lila in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Sanatana Goswami meets Lord Chaitanya, or any of those personalities meet Lord Chaitanya, they experience, it is just described, horripilation, some bliss, some ecstasy, and it's going on for a short while only. And then it's over. And then they're back to their normal state. Even Lord Chaitanya, say for instance, when he's leaving Vrindavan and he meets, and the Pathans arrive, those 10 warriors arrive, and they accuse his associates of having to rob him and kill him, and that he's dead. But he wakes up and he says, I'm only experiencing, I have a problem, Lord Chaitanya is saying, called epilepsy. And he fell into unconsciousness. Now he's experiencing an amazing ecstasy, but for a short time. And then he's returning to so-called normal. Now, if we experience that, or these personalities who have been shown to us experience that in this material world, so-called material world, from our experience from reading Shastra, what is the level of bliss, ananda, in the spiritual world? Is it comparable to that, but always continuously existing with the appropriate body to experience that? And as you were saying earlier, the levels to be there to realize that. So these things that we see written in Shastra, particularly Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is very relevant to us here, they seem to be experienced for just a short while. Is that feeling, that experience, that state, is that in a continual existence in the spiritual world for those living entities in the spiritual world? Question.
Can you paraphrase the question?
Yeah, Mike. I think the essence is when you hear of the pastimes of the Lord, especially Lord Chaitanya, etc. Here, they're experiencing ecstasy, and then the pastime changes. They go to about there. In the morning they go back to their business again. But in the spiritual world, is it consistently ecstasy, or right?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
It's the in the Golok, it is in the spiritual world with Krishna, then it's Satchidananda, or Sambit, Sandhini, and Haladini. They're known as their. So they're the prominent qualities of the Lord's form. He's Vishuddhasattva. So those three qualities are there, predominant. So it depends which quality is prominent. Just like here, in the material world, the three modes of nature, they're struggling for superiority amongst each other. So sometimes passion is prominent, sometimes goodness, sometimes dhamma, like that. So in the spiritual world, they have the, that's the blueprint, they have these three qualities of Satchitananda. So what particular quality is prominent, that will affect the ambience. So when Prabhu mentions in CC, I won't be able to paraphrase, but when the chit potency is prominent, it's realized as knowledge in transcendence. That means when the Sandhini is prominent, it's perceived as the existence of all that be. It means it's a fantastic panorama. That means just everything, the stuff, the trees, the people, the place, the atmosphere, like that, from the Sandhini. And then when you're appreciating that, just the place, because it's Brahman, it's all Brahman, all of this. And when the chit is prominent, then you'll experience as I think it's a knowledge in transcendence. You'll understand everything about it completely. Different dimensions, difficult to and when the Haladini is prominent, then that's experienced as love of Krishna. So all the pastimes, they take place in the interaction of these three. So the Haladini is considered the essence, because that's manifested as love, prema, love of Krishna. So it's constantly changing. Then therefore one pastime evolves into another one experience evolves into another experience. That's the variegatedness. So then you can experience Ananda in so many different ways. But it's all on the Transcendental Brahman platform. But it's coming in varieties according to the devotee's desire, according to Krishna's desire, and according to how the Yogamaya arranges and how these different Sandhini, Sambit, or Haladini are, which one is predominant at that time. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you. That paints a pretty good picture of the spiritual world. Just those three terms, Satchitananda. So another point is when Lord Chaitanya makes an excuse that he just has epilepsy, or an individual also in experiencing horripilation, I draw the example of deity worship, and you can release to us that information because you do so much deity worship, Pankajanghri, that you're looking at the deity and suddenly it's no longer marble, and that is Madhava is there. And then somehow, so you experience that for some moments, and then it goes away. When an experience happens like that, or you feel horripilation or ecstasy, and you see Lord Chaitanya, and you hit the deck, pay your obeisances, you just fall down actually unconscious, as Lord Chaitanya fell down unconscious. So many personalities have described her as falling down and becoming unconscious, which doesn't sound like a very nice thing to do. But once that happens to you, your whole life over that one small event for a moment is transformed, is changed. You never forget that. And then that becomes somewhat of a goal, perhaps, of what you want to achieve and perhaps of what exists in the spiritual world. Have you ever had that experience of seeing?
Yeah, I think that's why we get those experiences. I think Krishna he opens a curtain, or Yogamaya opens the curtain, just to give us conviction that what we're hearing about, what we're doing, is for real. It is real. Otherwise, if there's no experience, how long will you stay? How long are you going to practice if you don't get any experience, taste? So I think that's why you get that experience, even as a bhakta. Even before initiation, people get, to get something, they feel that. That's to give encouragement, to keep you going. Otherwise, it's a gradual process. It needs some endeavor. We're so conditioned. So I think that's the main purpose of it, to give you a taste. Then you become convinced, it's for real what we're hearing about, and you won't give up. You won't go. You don't have to go back. It'll give you, because otherwise it's very difficult. Because Maya is offering this pleasure. Unless you've tasted something better, how can you give it up? That's a problem we face, because we're enjoyers by nature.
And is it unconditional? I mean, you didn't deserve it. You didn't actually. Well, you were standing there. You were doing the deity worship, or that you experienced this individual and you were in this situation. But is it unconditional? Particularly here in Mayapur Dham, Navadvip Dham?
Is what unconditional?
Unconditional. The experience, the actual the experience that you get, that transformative experience. Is it? Are you deserving it? Have you tried to get it? Or in many descriptions it just seems to happen. It just happens.
It just happens.
Yeah.
That's why it's just mercy. That's the Lord's mercy.
Yeah.
The endeavor and the mercy of the Lord. But you can't work for it. It's not a material thing. It is mercy.
Yeah.
You can't demand. There's no process. You do this ABC and you'll get and it'll happen. It doesn't work like that.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Here.
Hare Krishna. I heard that Shukdev Goswami completely knows the Srimad Bhagavatam, but Vyasadev may know, but maybe not fully know the Srimad Bhagavatam. Why is that?
This is before. Well. Ask Sukadeva Goswami. He may know, he may not know. He's an incarnation. Vyasadeva is, I don't know, he's actually describing the pastimes of the Lord. He's describing other people's pastimes of the Lord. He may know, he may not know. This is a very diplomatic way to express something. So how can we, if he says he may know, he may not know, then What is our discussion? Okay. Prabhupada Ki Jai.